Welcome in, everybody, to a deep dive you're not going to want to miss.
I'm excited.
We're going deep into the world where nature and spirituality kind of blur together.
Okay.
We've got all sorts of articles, excerpts, uh, just a wealth of material about how people have used nature for spiritual growth over time.
Okay.
Think of it like we've got this treasure map
I like that.
leading us through different practices, benefits,
Mm.
historical perspectives, cultural perspectives, even some scientific insights.
Yeah, cool.
And our mission is to uncover why nature is such a powerful teacher, spiritually speaking, and most importantly, how you can connect with that for your own well-being, for your own self-discovery.
I love it.
You know, one of the things that I think is so interesting is that a lot of different cultures view nature not just as this pretty thing,
Right.
but as a living force,
Mm-hmm.
like a real living entity pulsating with energy and spirit.
Especially indigenous traditions, they see nature as this living entity just pulsating with spirit and wisdom.
And that's something that I think a lot of us feel intuitively, even if we haven't really put it into words.
Yeah.
One of our sources, Nature as a Teacher, really dives into this,
Okay.
talking about how even just observing nature
Mm-hmm.
can help you feel more present, more grateful.
Right.
I know for me, watching a sunset can totally shift my perspective like that.
For sure. Yeah.
But it goes beyond just appreciating the beauty,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. It
Like really observing nature helps you understand things.
Right.
So think about if you were watching a flock of birds migrating.
Yeah.
That's not just a pretty thing to look at.
Right.
You start to see the teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
the resilience that they have to face these challenges.
Yeah.
And then you start to think about those same things within yourself.
Right.
So you're actually getting lessons from nature.
It's a direct lesson.
Yeah, like a blueprint for how to deal with life's challenges.
In resilience and cooperation, just gleaned simply from observing those patterns.
Yeah, and another source talks about how nature is constantly in these cycles,
Mhm.
you know, from winter to spring, for example.
Right.
And how that's a really good metaphor for how we should be handling difficulty in our lives.
Yeah.
Nature doesn't resist change.
It embraces it.
Yeah, it just goes with it. It flows around obstacles like a river.
Right. Be like water, my friend.
Exactly.
You get it?
So it's about recognizing that change is inevitable.
Right.
And instead of resisting it,
Yes.
learn to adapt and flow with it,
Just like nature does.
like nature does.
The source even suggests that we can almost absorb this wisdom
Yeah.
through osmosis by immersing ourselves in nature.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
And that leads us to how we can actually use nature as a tool
Right.
for mindfulness and spiritual practice.
Yes.
So it's more than just, enjoying the scenery.
Right.
There's this idea of mindful walking,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm guessing is different from, just taking a regular walk in the park.
Absolutely it is.
So what's that all about?
Mindful walking is about slowing down, engaging all of your senses,
Oh,
and truly observing your surroundings.
so it's not about the destination.
No, it's not about rushing to a destination.
It's about the journey.
It's about becoming fully present in each step.
Okay.
Noticing the feel of the earth beneath your feet,
Mhm.
the scent of the air, the sounds of birdsong,
Wow.
being present in the journey itself.
So you're taking a simple walk and turning it into something more meditative.
Exactly.
Okay. I also want to talk about forest bathing because that was mentioned in the source.
Yes.
It's also known as Shinrin-yoku,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been getting a lot of attention lately for its mental and spiritual benefits, but it's more than just walking in the woods, right?
Exactly.
Like, what's the nuance there?
Forest bathing is a practice that originated in Japan.
Okay.
And it's really about intentionally immersing yourself in the forest atmosphere.
So you're not just walking.
You're not just walking, you're engaging all your senses. Noticing the subtle scents of the trees, the textures of bark, and leaves, the play of light filtering through the canopy.
That sounds really nice.
It is.
So there's actual research on this.
There is.
Forest bathing.
The source mentions some really interesting research on forest bathing.
Okay, what's the science say?
It's been shown to reduce stress hormones, improve mood, and even boost the immune system
How?
thanks to exposure to phytoncides,
What are those?
which are natural chemicals released by trees.
So this is really cool. It's like ancient wisdom meeting modern science.
It really is.
So we've talked about how just observing nature and being mindful in nature
Right.
can be good for us.
Yes.
But how do we take it a step further?
Mhm.
How do we create our own spiritual practices
Right.
that tap into this?
Good question.
I'm curious about the application of it.
Yeah, well, the source offers some great examples.
Okay, let's hear it.
One is creating nature rituals,
Ooh, okay.
which are personalized practices that allow you to connect with the energy of nature in a more intentional way.
Okay, I like that.
A simple example is a moon ritual.
Oh, tell me more.
Okay. Essentially, you choose a moon phase that resonates with your intention.
Okay.
For instance, the new moon is often associated with new beginnings and setting intentions,
Mhm.
while the full moon is a time for release and letting go.
Okay.
Then you find a natural setting that feels special to you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your backyard, a local park, or even just a spot near a window where you can see the moon.
Right.
You might create a sacred circle with stones or natural objects.
I like that.
Light a candle and spend some time reflecting, meditating, journaling, or simply soaking in the energy of the moon.
So you're really tapping into nature's cycles
Very
to support your own inner journey.
Exactly.
I love that. And the Source even talks about creating these nature altars,
It does.
like little spaces where you gather objects that have meaning to you
Right.
as a way to connect with nature.
Yeah, creating a focal point for reflection and connection with the natural world.
I'm liking these ideas because I'm starting to see how this can be part of everyday life.
That's key.
Even if you don't live in a forest or have tons of time to do rituals.
That's a key takeaway here.
Right.
Sacredness isn't limited to specific locations or grand rituals.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your perspective and recognizing that nature's wisdom is available to us all the time,
All around us.
right outside our doorstep.
I want to talk about the elements
Okay.
because the Source mentions how earth, water, air, fire each have their own spiritual qualities.
Right.
And I really like these grounding techniques they were talking about
Yeah.
related to the earth, like walking barefoot.
Right.
It's got to be more than just feeling the grass between your toes, though, right?
There's definitely a deeper layer to it.
What is it?
Walking barefoot or even just sitting on the ground and feeling its solidity
Mm-hmm.
can help us feel more centered and connected to the present moment.
Okay.
Ancient cultures actually use this technique to connect with the Earth's energy, drawing strength and stability from its grounding presence.
So it's like plugging into a source of energy,
It's a great analogy.
like feeling rooted and supported
That's a great analogy.
by the earth.
And the source points out that these grounding techniques
Yeah.
can be especially helpful for people who feel anxious or scattered,
Makes sense.
as they help to calm the nervous system and promote a sense of stability.
Like Mother Earth giving us a hug,
Exactly.
telling us we're not alone.
And just as the Earth provides stability,
Yeah.
the source highlights how water is deeply connected to our emotions
Oh, I can see that.
and can be used for purification and emotional release.
Yeah, whenever I swim in the ocean or take a bath,
Mhm.
I always feel cleansed.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, why is that?
Think about ancient cultures and their ritual baths.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just about hygiene.
Right.
They were about cleansing negative energy and emotions,
Okay.
symbolizing water's ability to wash away what no longer serves us.
That's a beautiful concept.
It is.
We're literally and figuratively cleansing ourselves with the water.
And just as we can cleanse and release with water,
Yeah.
the source emphasizes that we can also embrace its fluidity
Yeah.
and learn to go with the flow, adapting to life's changes as water adapts to its environment.
Be like water, my friend.
Exactly.
There you
It's
go.
a potent reminder that resistance creates tension,
Right.
while acceptance and flexibility allow for greater ease and grace.
That's such a good point.
It's like nature is constantly teaching us these valuable lessons
If we pay attention.
if we're willing to pay attention.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the social aspect
Okay.
because it's not all about, just you and nature.
Right.
The source talks about how being in nature with other people can actually help build community.
It does, and belonging.
The source highlights the social aspect of nature spirituality,
Yeah.
emphasizing the power of shared experiences in nature for building community and belonging.
So we're not meant to do this alone.
We should be sharing these experiences.
Think about nature retreats.
Okay.
They provide a focused opportunity for spiritual growth,
Mm-hmm.
but they also create a sense of connection with like-minded individuals who share a reverence for the natural world.
And there's something about experiencing the awe of nature together
Yes,
that amplifies it, right?
it does.
Makes you feel more connected.
There's something powerful about experiencing the awe and wonder of nature together.
Yeah.
It amplifies those feelings and creates a sense of shared purpose.
It's like joy shared is joy doubled.
Exactly.
I also want to mention how nature has always been this source of inspiration
Yes.
for artists, writers, and musicians throughout history.
Absolutely.
There's a whole section in the source that explores this,
There is.
and it talks about how creativity is like its own form of spiritual expression.
It can be.
So like Monet and his water lilies,
Right.
he spent years capturing the beauty of nature,
He did.
almost like a meditative practice.
It was.
And his paintings still evoke a sense of peace and wonder. They do. And people today.
Absolutely.
And then you've got Thoreau and Walden Pond.
Right.
Solitude in nature fueling his writing.
Yes.
And then he had all these amazing insights about humanity.
Exactly.
Our relationship with nature.
His solitude in nature fueled his creativity.
Yeah.
Leading to profound insights into the human condition and our relationship with the natural world.
So nature's this well of inspiration.
It is.
That never runs dry.
It doesn't.
And when we tap into that through our own creative expression, whether it's painting, writing, music, whatever,
right,
we're connecting with something deeper within ourselves.
That's beautifully put.
And it's not just about creating masterpieces.
Right.
The source also talks about the therapeutic benefits of creativity in nature.
It is.
Stress reduction.
Yes.
Improved focus, emotional release.
It doesn't matter if you're painting a landscape, writing a poem, or simply arranging stones in a mandala pattern on the beach.
Right.
You're engaging in a form of spiritual practice, connecting with nature's energy and using it to nurture your own well-being.
So we don't have to be, like quote-unquote artists to benefit from
Exactly.
it. We can still tap into that creative energy.
You can.
For personal growth and healing.
And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of this whole conversation.
Okay.
How different cultures and traditions around the world have incorporated nature into their spiritual practices.
I love that because it shows that it's not just one thing.
Right.
It's this universal thing.
It's a testament to the universal appeal of nature as a source of wisdom and connection.
Transcending borders and belief systems.
Exactly.
And, I'm really fascinated by Indigenous spirituality because they have such deep respect for nature as this living, breathing entity.
Right.
It's like the earth is a secret being.
Yes.
Not something we control or exploit,
right,
but something we need to show respect and gratitude to.
It's a powerful concept.
It is.
And it highlights the importance of reciprocity.
What's that?
The idea that we have a responsibility to care for the earth just as it cares for us.
Well, we're not just taking.
It's not a one-way street.
Right, it's give and take.
It's a relationship built on mutual respect and a deep understanding of our interconnectedness.
I like that. And it's not just indigenous cultures.
Right.
The source talks about Hinduism.
It does.
And how all the deities are linked to natural elements.
Right.
So nature is a big part of their religious practices.
It is.
Like the Ganges River.
Yes.
Sacred to Hindus.
Very much so.
Represents the goddess Ganga. And pilgrimages to that river are super important to them.
They are.
It just shows how intertwined nature and spirituality are.
It does.
In these traditions.
Nature isn't just a backdrop in Hinduism.
Right.
It's a living embodiment of the divine.
And it's not just about worshiping deities.
Right.
The source also points out that Buddhism uses nature in mindfulness practices.
It does.
Seeing it as a teacher of impermanence.
Yes.
So it's about learning from nature.
It is.
It's not just about peace or connecting with something bigger.
Right.
It's about understanding how everything changes.
Absolutely.
The constant cycle of renewal.
Observing the changing seasons, the life cycle of plants and animals. It all points to the transient nature of existence.
And when you really realize that,
right,
it can help you let go of things.
And that awareness can be incredibly liberating,
Yeah.
helping us let go of attachments and embrace the flow of life.
So we've seen how nature spirituality shows up in all these different traditions.
We have.
But how do we bring it home?
Good question.
Like, how do we find that in our own lives?
The source makes a crucial point.
With that?
Sacredness isn't just in far-off rituals or ancient traditions. It can be found in our everyday lives if we're willing to look for it.
I like that.
It's really about shifting our perspective, slowing down, and paying attention.
Yeah, so we don't have to go on some big pilgrimage to find this.
It's right here, right now, in the everyday moments.
Yeah, the source talks about mindful observation.
It does.
During everyday things.
Yes.
So like really slowing down to see a flower or the pattern of a leaf.
And engaging all our senses.
So it's not about setting aside time for it.
Right.
It's about bringing that mindfulness to everything you do.
Whether we're walking to work, having lunch in a park, or simply gazing at the moon from our window.
I love that.
We can choose to see those moments as opportunities for connection.
Yeah, like little mini rituals all day long.
Exactly.
So easy.
It's about making those small conscious choices to engage with the natural world throughout our day.
The source also suggests nature journaling.
It does.
To help us with this.
Yes.
So we're taking notes on nature's wisdom.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
It could be as simple as jotting down a few observations, sketching a leaf, or writing a poem about the sunset.
Right.
It's about creating a tangible record of our encounters with nature and the insights we gain from them.
So we've explored the spiritual side. But what does science say about all this?
Right.
Is there any evidence that backs up all this stuff about nature being good for us?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
The source introduces the growing scientific evidence that supports the benefits of nature for our well-being.
There's actual proof.
For example, research has shown that nature exposure lowers cortisol levels,
What's cortisol?
the hormone associated with stress.
Okay, so less stress when you're in nature.
Exactly.
That's not just a feeling.
Right.
There's science behind it.
It goes beyond stress reduction.
Okay.
The source also highlights the concept of biophilia,
What is that?
our innate human connection to nature.
So we're hardwired to love nature.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It suggests that our connection to nature isn't just cultural or learned.
Yeah.
It's deeply ingrained in our biology.
So it's in the...
And that connection has a profound impact on our health and happiness.
Nature is not just a nice to have.
It's not.
It's essential.
It's essential for our well-being, both spiritually and scientifically.
I love that. And, as we understand this more and more,
Yes.
I think we'll see nature become a bigger part of our lives.
I think so, too.
In healthcare, in urban planning, in all sorts of areas.
Absolutely.
The source gives us some insight into trends we might see
It does.
in the future of nature, spirituality.
It's quite fascinating.
So what do they say?
It suggests we might see the rise of eco-spirituality,
What's that?
which blends environmentalism with spiritual practice.
Okay, so it's not just about you.
It's not just about personal growth.
It's about the planet.
It's about recognizing our responsibility to the planet.
I like that.
It's about understanding that our spiritual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of the earth.
So that's why things like forest bathing are getting popular.
Right.
Because it's not just about enjoying it.
Right.
It's about really connecting.
It's about consciously absorbing its atmosphere, benefiting from the phytoncides released by trees.
Which have been scientifically proven to boost the immune system.
Right. It's a beautiful example of how ancient wisdom and modern science are coming together to support our well-being.
That's so cool.
It really is.
And the source also says mindfulness in nature is going to become even more mainstream.
I think so, too.
And I think we're already seeing that.
I agree.
Like more people are doing mindful walks, outdoor yoga,
Yes.
nature meditation.
It's encouraging to see these practices becoming more accessible and widely accepted.
And accepted.
Yeah.
It's not just this weird fringe thing anymore.
It's no longer seen as something fringe or esoteric, but as a legitimate pathway to health and happiness.
And it makes me happy to see that.
Me too.
But I'm also curious about how we connect with nature when so many of us live in cities.
Right. That's a challenge.
Because not everybody has access to a forest.
Yeah, it's not always easy to find a forest to bathe in when you live in a concrete jungle.
Yeah, exactly. So what can we do about that?
Well, the source talks about creating little green oases
Okay.
in your home,
Like houseplants.
like houseplants, or even on your balcony.
Yeah, just a little touches of nature.
And even small interactions with nature can have a big impact.
That's good to hear.
Taking a few moments to step outside, breathe deeply, and appreciate the sky can make a difference.
I like that.
It's about being intentional, about seeking out those moments of connection no matter where we are.
And speaking of challenges,
Yes.
what about technology?
Right.
Is that going to hurt this movement or help it?
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
How so?
On the one hand, it can distract us from the beauty around us.
Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that.
But on the other hand, it can also enhance our experience of nature.
Okay, so it can help too.
Think of apps that help us identify plants and animals, or apps that guide us through nature meditations.
Oh, yeah, like those plant identifier apps?
Exactly.
So
So it's not about rejecting technology. It's about using it mindfully to deepen our connection with nature.
So be mindful of your technology use.
Be mindful of your technology use.
That's a good takeaway.
And I think that's a key takeaway from this whole conversation.
What is it?
It's about being intentional and mindful in our relationship with nature,
Okay.
recognizing its power to heal, inspire, and guide us on our spiritual journeys.
I like that.
And the source also reminds us that this connection is available to everyone regardless of their background or beliefs.
I love that.
You don't need to be an expert or follow a specific tradition to experience the awe and wonder of nature.
It's for everyone.
It's about finding what resonates with you and creating your own unique path.
And as we look towards the future,
Yes.
it's clear that there's no one right way to do this nature spirituality.
There isn't.
It's about finding what works for you.
It's about embracing diversity, both in the natural world and in our own spiritual practices.
I like that.
And it's about recognizing that our connection to nature is a lifelong journey of discovery, growth, and transformation.
This has been such an insightful look at the connection between nature and spirituality.
It has been.
But before we go to the next part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to talk about the elements a little bit more.
Okay.
Because the source goes into how earth, water, air, fire
Right.
all have their own unique spiritual qualities.
Yes.
And how we can use those to improve our well-being.
It's a fascinating concept.
It is.
It's like nature provides us with this toolbox of elements, each with its own unique energy and wisdom.
I like that it's like a toolbox.
We can really use it to benefit ourselves. It really is like a toolbox.
So we talked about walking barefoot
Right.
as a grounding technique.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some other ways we can connect with the Earth's energy?
Well, even something as simple as just sitting on the ground.
Okay.
Feeling that solidity beneath you can be really grounding.
I can see that.
You can close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and visualize roots extending from your body down into the earth, anchoring you and drawing strength from its stable presence.
So it's almost like becoming a tree.
In a way.
Yes. And I can see how that would be really helpful for people who are feeling anxious or overwhelmed.
Exactly. It's like a way to reconnect with a sense of stability and calm.
When everything else feels chaotic.
Right. And it's not just about feeling grounded in the moment.
Okay.
The source also talks about how working with the earth element can help us connect with our own sense of purpose and belonging in the world.
That makes sense. Like when we feel rooted in the earth, we feel more rooted in ourselves.
Precisely.
And our place in the bigger picture.
And then there's water, which the source describes as the element of emotion purification and flow.
I always felt drawn to water.
Me too.
There's something about swimming in the ocean.
Yes.
Or even just taking a bath.
Right.
That just feels so cleansing and rejuvenating.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, why is that?
Water has this incredible ability to wash away what no longer serves us both physically and emotionally.
I like that.
Think about those ancient cultures and their ritual baths. It wasn't just about hygiene.
Okay.
It was about purification, using water to symbolize the release of negative energy and emotions.
It's like we're literally washing away the bad stuff.
It is a powerful image.
Yeah, it really is.
And beyond purification, the source also talks about embracing water's fluidity, just as water adapts to its environment.
Yeah.
Flowing around obstacles and finding its way to the sea, we can learn to adapt to life's changes with more grace and ease.
Be like water.
Exactly.
Go with the flow.
Instead of resisting change, we can learn to flow with it just as water does.
And then we have air.
Yes. Air, the element of breath, clarity, and communication.
Air is essential.
We literally can't live without it.
Right. We can't survive without breathing.
And yet we so often take our breath for granted.
We do.
The source talks about practices like pranayama,
What's that?
which is conscious breathing,
Yeah.
as a way to work with the air element and bring more awareness to this vital life force.
So it's not just breathing.
No.
It's about being aware of your breath.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with our breath, using it to calm the mind, release tension, and gain clarity.
And even if you're not doing, a specific breathing practice,
Right.
just being in nature and taking deep breaths of fresh air can be really good for you.
It can.
It's like you're taking in the energy of the universe with each breath,
I like that.
filling your body with life.
It's like we're taking in the life force of the universe with each breath,
Yeah.
oxygenating our bodies and clearing our minds.
It makes me want to take a deep breath right now.
Do it.
And then there's fire.
Yes. Fire, the element of transformation, passion, and purification.
Fire is powerful.
It is a powerful force, both literally and metaphorically.
And it can be dangerous,
It can.
but also beautiful.
And the source talks about how we can work with fire through practices like candle-gazing bonfires or simply by observing the flames of a fireplace.
I love watching a fire.
There's something so mesmerizing about watching flames dance.
Yeah, it's almost hypnotic. And it's like those flames can symbolize burning away the things that don't serve us anymore.
Exactly, making space for new growth and transformation.
So you're letting go of the old.
Yes.
To make room for the new.
It's like a ritualistic cleansing.
I like that.
Using fire to release old patterns and make way for the new.
So we've got earth for grounding, water for cleansing,
Yes.
air for clarity.
And fire for transformation.
I love it. It's like we have all these tools from nature to help us on our spiritual journey.
Absolutely. It's like having this incredible toolbox of natural wisdom at our fingertips.
Yeah, ready to support us.
Ready to support us on our journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth.
You know, one thing we haven't talked about much
What's that?
is solitude in nature.
Right.
But the Source mentions how transformative it can be.
It is solitude in nature provides this incredible space for introspection and self-discovery.
It's like when you're surrounded by all that stillness,
Mm-hmm.
all the noise and distractions just fade away. And you can finally hear your own thoughts.
When we're surrounded by the stillness of the natural world, it's like all the noise and distractions of everyday life fade away.
Right.
And we're able to connect with a deeper part of ourselves.
It can be a little scary, though,
It can be.
to face those deeper parts of yourself.
It's not always easy to confront those deeper parts of ourselves.
Yet it's also really important.
It is.
Like you're peeling back the layers
Yeah.
to see what's underneath.
It's like we're peeling back the layers, revealing what's been hidden beneath the surface.
And you might be surprised by what you find.
We might discover hidden strengths, suppressed emotions, or a newfound sense of purpose.
So it's like nature's the safe space
It is.
to do that inner work.
The Source also mentions how nature can evoke a sense of wonder and spirituality,
Yes.
which can lead to profound spiritual experiences.
Like when you see a sunset that just blows your mind.
Exactly. It's that feeling of being a small part of something much larger than ourselves.
You feel so insignificant.
In a good way.
Yeah.
When we witness the vastness of the ocean or the majesty of a mountain range, it can shift our perspective and remind us of our place in the grand scheme of things.
And it's a good reminder
It is.
that we're not the center of the universe.
It's like we're tapping into something ancient and primal, something that connects us to all of creation.
And that can be really healing,
It can.
to feel that connection.
And those moments of awe and wonder are available to everyone,
They are.
regardless of their religious beliefs or spiritual background.
So you don't have to be religious
You don't.
or
You
spiritual
can.
to appreciate the power of nature.
Nature doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't.
It offers its wisdom and beauty to anyone who's open to receiving it.
And one of the sources talks about how we can cultivate that openness by paying attention to the sacredness in our everyday lives.
Okay.
Like really looking at a flower
Mhm.
or the pattern of a leaf,
It's about shifting our perspective, seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary.
finding the magic in the mundane.
Exactly. And it's not about setting aside specific time for nature meditation or rituals.
So no need to overcomplicate it.
No.
Just bring that awareness to every interaction you have with nature.
So it could be something as simple as taking a mindful breath while walking through a park,
I like that.
or feeling the sun on your skin while gardening.
Simple, but powerful.
Precisely. It's about infusing our daily lives with that sense of reverence and appreciation for the natural world.
And don't forget about nature journaling.
Right, journaling is a fantastic tool for self-reflection and spiritual exploration.
It's a good way to remember those moments.
It allows us to capture those fleeting moments of insight and connection and to revisit them later on.
I'm going to have to try that.
You should.
It's like keeping a diary of your spiritual journey.
It's like creating a tangible record of our spiritual journey guided by nature's wisdom.
I love that.
And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You could simply jot down a few observations, sketch a tree, or write a poem about the sunset.
Yeah, just whatever feels good.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to talk about how all these ideas are shaping the future of spirituality.
Okay.
One of the sources talks about some potential trends,
It does.
and it's really exciting.
What are they?
Like eco-spirituality.
What is that?
It's this idea of blending environmentalism with spiritual practice.
Interesting. So it's not just about personal growth.
It's about taking care of the planet.
It's about recognizing our responsibility to the planet.
I like that.
It's about understanding that our personal well-being is inseparable from the well-being of the earth.
We need a healthy planet to have a healthy soul.
We do.
And the source also talks about mindfulness in nature becoming more mainstream.
I think that's already happening.
Me too.
Which is really positive.
It's encouraging to see these practices becoming more accessible and widely accepted.
It is.
It's no longer seen as something fringe or esoteric,
Right.
but as a recognized pathway to well-being, both individually and collectively.
And what about technology?
Ah, yes, the double-edged sword. Right, because it can be both good and bad.
It can.
So how do we see that playing out in the future of nature spirituality?
Well, on the one hand, technology can distract us and create a disconnect from our surroundings.
Like when you're so busy taking pictures of nature
Right.
that you forget to actually experience it.
Exactly. But on the other hand, technology can also enhance our experience of nature.
Okay, how so?
Think about apps that guide us through nature meditations or apps that help us identify plants and animals, deepening our understanding of the ecosystem.
Yeah, those plant identifier apps are pretty cool.
They are.
So it's about using technology intentionally to
That's
deepen
right.
our connection.
Not to distract us from it.
Right. And the source also mentions how people might start seeking more personalized spiritual paths
Okay.
rooted in their own experiences with nature.
So not just following a specific tradition or dogma,
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
which can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah, it's like creating your own spiritual adventure.
It's like creating your own spiritual adventure.
Before we move on, I want to take a look at some specific examples of how different cultures around the world incorporate nature into their spiritual practices.
Sounds good.
Because the source material we have really dives into this in a fascinating way.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how this connection with nature shows up in so many different cultures and traditions around the world.
Right, it's like a universal language.
Exactly. It offers a glimpse into this universal appeal of nature as a source of wisdom, healing, and connection.
I want to circle back to indigenous spirituality for a moment.
Okay.
Because one of the sources talks about their deep reverence for nature as a living, breathing entity.
Right.
And it really resonates with me, this idea of honoring the earth as sacred.
It's a really powerful concept, and it highlights the importance of reciprocity.
Reciprocity, what does that mean?
It means that we're not just taking from the earth, but we also have a responsibility to care for it.
Oh, okay, like give and take.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about understanding that we're all interconnected humans and nature alike.
We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children.
I love that quote.
It's a good one, right?
It is.
It reminds us that we need to take care of the planet for future generations.
And that sense of responsibility is woven into many indigenous cultures.
Yeah. Their spiritual practices are so connected to nature.
They recognize the sacredness of the land, the water, the plants, and the animals.
It's inspiring.
It is.
It shows how spirituality can lead to real action.
And a more sustainable way of living.
Speaking of different traditions, the source also talks about Hinduism
Yes.
and how their deities are often connected to natural elements,
Right. Making nature an integral part of their practices.
like the Ganges River.
Yes. The Ganges.
It's sacred to Hindus.
Very much so.
It represents the goddess Ganga,
Yeah.
and pilgrimages to the river are a central part of their religious life.
They are.
It's a beautiful example of how intertwined nature and spirituality can be.
In Hinduism, the natural world is full of spiritual significance.
So it's not just a river.
It's a living expression of the divine.
I love that.
And the source also mentions Buddhism
Okay.
and how they incorporate nature into their mindfulness practices.
Right. They see nature as a teacher of impermanence.
It's exactly a reminder that everything is constantly changing.
Nothing stays the same.
Nothing stays the same. By observing the changing seasons, the life cycle of plants and animals, we're reminded that everything is in a state of flux.
So it's not just about finding peace or connecting with a higher power.
No.
It's about learning from nature.
It's about embracing change and letting go of attachments.
That's a powerful lesson.
It is, and one of the most valuable lessons we can learn from nature is the power of stillness and solitude.
We talked about that a little bit earlier.
We did, but it's worth revisiting.
It is. So what is it about solitude in nature that makes it so transformative?
Well, when we remove ourselves from the busyness of our lives and immerse ourselves in nature, it creates this space for introspection
Okay.
and self-discovery.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. All the noise and distractions fade away, and we're able to connect with a deeper part of ourselves.
It's like finally having time to hear your own thoughts.
It can be a little scary at first.
It can.
To confront those deeper parts of ourselves.
But also really important.
It is.
Like you're peeling back the layers to see what's underneath.
Exactly.
And you never know what you might find.
You really don't. You might discover hidden strengths, suppressed emotions, or even a new sense of purpose.
Like a journey of self-discovery.
It is, and this source mentions how nature can evoke a sense of wonder
Yes,
and
just
spirituality.
Like when you see a breathtaking sunset or stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon.
Exactly. It shifts your perspective.
Yeah.
It reminds you of your place in the world.
You feel so small, but also connected to something much bigger.
Exactly. It's like we're tapping into something ancient and primal, something that connects us to all of creation.
It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Me too. And that connection can be incredibly healing and empowering.
So if you're feeling lost or disconnected,
Or in need of inspiration.
go spend some time alone in nature.
It might just be the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We've learned so much about the connection between nature and spirituality.
We've covered so much ground, from the science of biophilia to the wisdom of ancient traditions.
And we've seen how this connection is for everyone.
Nature offers a path to well-being, meaning and connection that's accessible to all of us.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few key takeaways.
Okay, what are they?
First, remember that nature is a powerful teacher.
It is.
It's always there to teach us about resilience, adaptation, and interconnectedness.
Second, make time for nature in your daily life.
Yes, even small interactions can make a big difference.
Third, don't forget the power of solitude in nature.
It can be truly transformative.
And finally, remember that your connection with nature is a journey, not a destination.
It's an ongoing exploration full of wonder, beauty, and endless possibilities.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting with the natural world.
I love that. Until next time, happy exploring.
And may your path be filled with the awe and wonder of nature.